read the game better when you've all the facts.
We're here at the GAA Museum in Croke Park, where, thanks to Ayr, proud sponsor of the GAA Football Championship, I'll be meeting up with Ciarán Whelan to discuss this weekend's match between Dublin and Donegal. Ciarán, for the first time this season, Dublin are set to face Division 1 opposition. But how prepared are they for the business end of the championship with no real challenge to date?
Yeah, that's the big question mark, I suppose. And Kerry came in last weekend in a similar circumstances, and it showed there was a rusty enough performance. So it's the one area you would concern about Dublin, meeting Donegal, who are a very experienced side, who have caused them difficulties in 2011 and 2014. So it's going to be a significant challenge. It's worrying, the Leinster Championship, Dublin weren't challenged really at all. Without being disrespectful of the counties, they didn't have to get out of second or third gear, and their performances haven't been great at times. There've been patches 20-25 minutes in those games where they've struggled, so it is a bit of a worry from a Dublin perspective that they're going up in terms of the levels of intensity. They're meeting a team that has had a tough Ulster Championship and a lot of games under their belt, and so they're going to have to get to the pitch of the game very quickly.
If Donegal are looking at Dublin and areas that they can exploit, they might look towards the 2 goals Dublin leaked against Laois. Will those weaknesses have been eradicated before Saturday?
It's certainly something they will have worked on. They know that, following that Laois game, they knew that the high ball caused them a bit of difficulty, and I know they've invested a lot of time in it. But if you look at Donegal's game, Donegal aren't using that long ball into Michael Murphy, and they've become very one-dimensional in their play. And he spent a lot of time at the edge of the square last weekend against Cork, and they didn't put any ball into him. And under Jimmy McGuinness, I suppose they varied their style of play. They'd go for a period where they'd put very long direct ball in there, and they haven't done that this year. So you would expect that with Michael Murphy on the edge of the square, with Dublin with vulnerabilities in the full back line, that they will get ball in there, they will try and test that Dublin full back line.
Paddy McBrearty scored 11 points against Cork last Saturday, the most any Donegal player has ever scored in Croke Park, 7 from play, but will he get the same freedom against Dublin?
I don't think he will. His performance was absolutely immense at the weekend. He reminded me of Bernard Brogan back in 2010, where he instinctively knew where the goal was. He was taking shots without even looking at the goal. It was an absolute incredible performance. As I said, Dublin will know that he is the key threat. Michael Murphy isn't functioning at full level as you would expect, and Dublin are going to have to close down McBrearty, and I think Johnny Cooper will be given that job. They'll have to get their matchups right, and I think Johnny Cooper is a well-established, experienced defender in that Dublin full back line.
Donegal are battle-hardened from the matches they've played in the Ulster Championship, but will that have taken its toll? A lot has been said of the players that are on the wrong side of 30. How much of a factor is that? Yeah,
I think it could be, and I think we'll find out on Saturday evening. Like those games in Ulster this year are of great benefit. I think 2 brilliant games against Monaghan and a game against Tyrone, and maybe last weekend was a slight hangover just from the Ulster final. It was hard to get themselves motivated. It was hard to get themselves back up and running. Playing the Dubs will drive that little bit of extra energy and motivation and focus out of all those players. It is difficult for them. There has been question marks. Are some of their players lagging, because it's a difficult environment to play out here, and particularly when you're coming up against a Dubs team that's full of pace, full of hunger as well. They're going to really have to match them, and I think we'll really find out on Saturday evening whether this Donegal team has one more kick in them or not.
Since March 2015, Dublin have won 25 consecutive league and championship matches, the most a Leinster team have ever won. Do you see that changing on Saturday?
I hope it continues. It's a phenomenal record when you reflect. As I said, we spoke about this team last year being probably one of the best Dublin teams ever, and I think the next 6-8 weeks is really going to answer that question. When they come to that period of game, when there's 10 or 15 minutes left, if it's in the boiling pot, whether they have that hunger and desire to get over the line, whether they have that appetite. I think that they do, but I think that they're going to need to be road tested, and I'm hoping that starts on Saturday. But there's always a concern with Donegal coming to Croke Park to play Dublin that they can pull one out of the bag, but I'm hoping Dublin get over the line.
Well, Dublin are favourites, but if anyone can trouble them, it'll be Donegal. Be sure to check out Ayr GAA for weekly competitions and the chance to win tickets all the way up to the All-Ireland football final. My thanks to Ciarán. We'll be back in a few weeks with the semi-final previews.